Andrew,
Yeah.
you got a spoiler cast theme song for this week?
Oh, Chris, you better run. Josh Lyman's gonna get you.
Get out!
Get out, Chris.
I always thought, I tweeted kind of a joke about this too, but every time I hear "get out," I just think of Rachel on Friends when she like hits people and she's like, "Get out!" You remember that?
Never watched Friends.
What?
I watch good shows.
We're stopping this podcast right now, and you're gonna watch every single episode of Friends. How dare you? You only watch good shows. Friends is one of the best ever.
Nah, never got into it. I couldn't get past the fact that all these waitresses and waiters could afford that high-class apartment in New York
couldn't
City.
suspend your disbelief.
Couldn't suspend disbelief.
I get
That's why I like shows like Young Justice and Batman the Animated.
Right, because those make so much more sense in the real world.
Totally.
Right?
A billionaire can afford all those gadgets.
Welcome to the Siftpop spoiler cast, where the theme song is different every week because we don't want to give anything away. The spoiler cast is meant as an addendum to the full review, which is in the main podcast. So if you have not listened to the review for Get Out in Siftpop episode number whatever it is, 77. Then make sure you do that first, because this is just meant as an addendum. We're not going to go into a lot of those review details. We're just going to hit on some things that we didn't get to talk about because of spoilers. Get Out is a spoiler-heavy movie. Like, it's not one you can really go into a lot without talking spoilers. So let's go ahead and get into it. What are some of the things you wanted to talk about that we, didn't get to mention because of spoilers?
So the basic premise, I'll just go through the movie chronologically. So it starts off, we're introduced to...
We will now reenact the entire movie, the two of us.
We're introduced to two characters, Rose Armitage and Chris Washington. Interracial couple. Chris is a black man. Rose is a white woman. You can definitely tell that these two are madly in love. I thought the chemistry between them was great. I thought it was real good.
Yeah, completely bought it, which is so important to one of the twists that comes later.
Exactly. And it's shown to us that she wants to introduce Chris to her family, her parents, and Chris is hesitant at first. He's like, have you told them I'm black? I think that you need to tell them. And her, being, a modern person, is like, I don't feel I should have to tell them. I think that, I should just say that you're my boyfriend and that we shouldn't put you in this category of you are my black boyfriend.
Right.
So she says, I'm just going to take you up there and introduce them. They're on their way up. They hit a deer and cop comes. He's not driving, but the cop asks for his ID. Once again, she is saying, why do you need to see his ID? I was the one driving. Why are you stereotyping him? They finally get to the house.
By the way, important stuff going on there that we don't know about, that maybe you didn't even think about, her ulterior motives for not wanting him to show his ID to the local police officer.
I think that this is a movie that lends itself, if you watch it a second time, you're going to notice a lot of stuff
like that. Yeah,
exactly.
I think that's a sign of a good suspense, twisty, thriller movie.
And I need to say that that's a really good pickup on your part. I didn't think of that.
Yeah,
I really didn't think of that part.
There's a lot of little stuff like that where you're like, you realize, you think it's her way of being chivalrous is the wrong word, but magnanimous, and doing the right thing, but really there's other motives. She doesn't want the police officer to know who this is and to have anything to identify.
I guess I should also mention the very first scene of this movie is a young black man walking down the road trying to find his friend's house, and he's kidnapped by this masked...
Did you think he was killed?
No.
I wondered if he was killed you find out later he's just passed out, but like chokeholded or whatever. But anyways.
So Chris and Rose get to their parents' estate, and Chris finds out that there are some servants on the property who were hired initially for whenever Rose's grandparents were elderly and they took care of them. There was a groundskeeper and then a housemaid, and they're black as well.
But there is something off about them.
Totally.
And you know
off.
it from the beginning. Like, it is like wackadoo. Like, something's going on.
Like, their mannerisms and their speech patterns are not only... they're out of time. And you find out later why they seem so... like they speak in a 50s mannerism and stuff like that. Find out later why they do. But right off the bat, you can tell that that her parents which are played by Bradley Whitford, as we said. But I don't think we ever mentioned Catherine Keener is the mom.
No, I don't think we did, no.
So, yeah, we find out, I should say, that they're both professionals in medicine in various degrees. She plays a psychiatrist.
She's great in it, too. Is there a weak performance in this movie?
That was one of my pros. I don't think there was a bad performance in the entire movie.
I really don't. Even the brother, he's a little over the top, but he's exactly who he's supposed to be.
Yeah, exactly. Catherine Keener plays a psychiatrist who deals in hypnosis, and the father plays, I guess, just a general practitioner.
He's a neurosurgeon.
Neurosurgeon is what it was. There we go. Then her brother, Rose's brother, is wanting to go into the same field. Again, find out later why. You want to just go ahead and say the spoiler so we don't have to keep saying you'll find out later why?
Well, I mean,
or do you want to just chronologically
whenever it feels natural, we can mention it. But I guess I would say as we continue on, what's happening in this next section is pretty much just thing after thing that seems a little off, maybe a little racist, but not. It's kind of what's interesting is it's kind of the ways you deal with institutionalized racism, where it's not overt racism, but it's like It's really interesting to see white people not realizing they're being racist. Yeah. And I look at my own life and I try to think of the times where I have said something, or well, I've got black friends, or
I would have voted for Obama for a third term.
Right? Yeah, exactly, that kind of stuff. And it's like I think that's really important stuff. But there's obviously something sinister going on behind the scenes.
Yeah.
What I found interesting during this whole time, and this is pretty early on, I figured out exactly what was going on.
I don't figure out how you, or don't know how you.
Okay,
figured
so
it
there
out.
were a couple.
I'm not saying I'm calling you a liar.
No.
But
there were a couple early clues that just clicked with me. One was the neurosurgeon thing, because he mentions he's a neurosurgeon early on, and from that point, I was like, oh, he replaced the brains in these people. Now, so there are actually several twists in this. One of this, the overall thing that's going on here is that they are bringing black people here to be auctioned off to have their bodies used as a new body for these people, which, by the way, that's kind of a very Black Mirror episode. This could have been an episode of Black Mirror in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
So Chris is coming here, he doesn't know it, to actually be auctioned off to be used as a body. And so...
Yeah, because Rose, his girlfriend, the daughter, actually farms, I guess you could say. She goes and she... seduces athletic African-American men. Like, there was a scene where she was literally typing up on her computer NCAA prospects.
Yeah.
And she was like, okay, I'm going to seduce him and then bring him up here to meet my family next time.
Yeah.
And then the maid was actually one of her friends, I guess, because she keeps a memoir, like little booklet of all the people she's brought up here and auctioned off.
Mm-hmm.
And because later in the film, the gentleman at the very first scene who was kidnapped, we see him and he's totally different. He's dressed differently. His mannerisms are differently because that's not his mind. But there was a moment whenever Chris meets that man where Chris takes a picture of him and the flash goes off on his camera. And whenever the flash happens, he is reawoken to his original self.
That is one of a couple plot convenience moments that I was talking about in the podcast proper. That is like, okay, that's really convenient that you can just flash a light at somebody. How does that work? He's got an entirely different brain in his head, but somehow a flashing light turns him completely back into the person he was. In that instance, all he does is say, "Get out." But later on, he uses the same trick on the groundskeeper. The groundskeeper, who is the grandfather. We find out, by the way, that the groundskeeper and the maid are the grandma and grandpa.
Yeah.
Which I also knew pretty early on.
You figured that out? You're good.
You know what? No, I just... Sometimes it clicks, No. The one thing I didn't know for sure until it happened was if the girlfriend was in on it or not.
Yeah.
That was done so well. Because it was so believable.
Yeah, she was so good.
Till the moment she said... I have the keys right here and I can't give them to you.
Yeah.
I wondered. if she was really in on it or not.
Did you think, like, whenever he was looking through the booklet, like, is she hypnotized as well by the mom?
Yeah.
Do we need to talk? We need to talk about that scene first off.
Yes, that's true. There's a lot to talk about.
His first night there, he goes.
Welcome to the spoiler cast.
Yeah.
We'd like to jump around.
Yeah,
jump up, and jump down.
One of the things you need to know about Chris's character is that he is a smoker, and it's clear from the very beginning that the parents, Bradley Whitford and Catherine Keener, are not happy by the fact that he's a smoker.
That was the other thing that tipped me off.
That they're using his body and like, well, we don't want you to smoke. We want you healthy.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah. So the very first night that he's there, he goes out for a smoke. He's scared by the groundskeeper and the maid who are acting creepy as all get. He goes back in. Catherine Keener's sitting in her study area. She invites him in, and without him knowing, she starts to hypnotize him. And she puts him in one of the most psychedelic trances.
The sunken down place.
The sunken down place.
Yeah.
And where he just falls and he's like, I'm paralyzed. I can't move. He starts talking about how his mother was killed in a hit and run.
Mm-hmm.
And now he did nothing to help her. He just watched TV, which maybe if you can explain this. So he was at home as a young kid, about 11 years old. He was watching TV. So instead of calling the police like, hey, my mom hasn't been home.
Yeah.
Maybe you should help me.
I wasn't totally clear on that either.
Okay.
Because it sounded like he's blaming himself because she laid by the way, that's why the deer is so impactful to him when they hit the deer and it's dying in the side of the road.
Yeah.
And also that comes into play in the closing moments as well, why he makes a choice he does to try and save somebody. And I thought that was handled really well, but I didn't necessarily follow. He was at home, so how would he have known that she was in an accident?
Exactly. And this is going to
maybe we just missed it. But
this is going to sound weird, but there's something in the trailer that I didn't see in the movie.
Okay.
And I don't know if I just walked away whenever I like went to the restroom or something.
Mm-hmm.
There's a part where he's in the sunken down place in the trailer, and
he's in the sunken down place in the trailer?
Yeah.
Oh, I hate trailers.
But there's a part in there where he's walking around in the sunken down place or floating, and an animate skeletal corpse of a deer charges at him and roars and like does this evil demonic thing. Is that in the movie at all?
No.
Okay, yeah, there's a part in the trailer where the deer that they hit, the skeletal monstrosity of that deer charges at him.
This is 2 movies in a row where somebody's hit a deer and then it's come back to haunt them.
Yeah.
With Cure for Wellness.
Cure for Wellness.
That's funny.
Yeah, so that wasn't in the movie at all.
No.
Okay, I didn't know.
Why would it be? That makes no sense.
Yeah, I don't know, but hey, it was in the trailer. I'm like, maybe I just missed it. But yeah, it's creepy part of the trailer. Yeah. So.
Are you sure it wasn't from the deer hanging above the television?
No, it was like a fully bipedal, like skeleton walking towards him and roaring and stuff.
Unless I missed it too, it was not in there.
Okay, so
and I did not go to the bathroom during the movie at any point.
Yeah, so. I drank a lot of water. So, the mother hypnotizes Chris. Then there's a gathering of friends and I guess family of like this house party for the Armitages. Turns out that's whenever they're planning to auction off Chris, but this is whenever the daughter, Rose, says, we're going to go on a walk. We just need to get away for a second.
Mm-hmm.
While he's away, that's when they do the auction. I thought that that's what she does every single time is she goes, we're going to go on a walk to get these people away.
Oh, yeah. It's all choreographed. Man. I think that stuff is brilliant. I really do. And it was the first moment we knew for sure. So the movie does another great thing where it insinuates guilt to these people. The mom is the first. Well, I guess you could say the brother is the first, because I think we're supposed to kind of know that it's the brother that choked that guy out because of the way he's talking about MMA.
Yeah.
So I think we assume that the brother is evil. Then we assume that the mom is evil.
Yeah.
Because of the hypnotizing stuff. That moment at the auction is the first time
we know the dad.
We know that the dad is evil as well.
Yeah.
And then finally that the daughter is in on it too.
Yeah, she's the last one. She's the last piece.
Yeah, the last domino to fall. So, I find all that, the way it worked, all that stuff really, really cool.
Yeah. And this whole time that he's visiting her parents' house, he's also communicating with his friend back home who's a TSA.
Mm-hmm.
He's the comic relief of the movie. I thought he was actually really well cast. I thought he was great too, because like we said earlier, every single person in this movie is cast phenomenally.
Yeah.
He's the comic relief. He's the funny TSA is just as good as a detective kind of guy. My dad's a TSA agent too, so
nice.
I can make that joke. But he's getting worried because
he's starting to figure it out.
Yeah, he's figuring it out, and nobody believes him.
Yeah.
The only thing is he thinks that they're being used as sex slaves instead of,
which in some cases that's the truth.
Yeah. So
just with a different person's brain in the body.
Just with a person's. I don't know if they were transferring their entire brain or transferring their consciousness.
They were transferring the brain.
Are you sure?
Oh yeah, he cut the skull off and pulled the brain
I don't
off.
know if they
he said something specifically about they leave in a certain part of your brain so
Your
that you can do motor functions.
Yeah.
So they leave the motor function part of the brain, and apparently, according to this movie, there's part of you that resides there.
Yeah.
Like you're in the sunken down place.
Forever.
Yeah, while this other person is controlling your body.
So Chris is like, I got to get out of here. It's way too creepy. That's when it's revealed that the daughter's in on it as well. The mother hypnotizes him again because she has a cue now that she can
she's built into his brain, the
cue.
tapping on the tea cup.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I was saying earlier. Every single time I have tea from now on, I'm going to get worried I'm going to get thrown in a sunken down place.
Mm-hmm.
But he gets strapped to a chair in the basement where he's finally revealed what's going to happen to him. He's scratching because of his nervous tic. He's scratching at the chair, and he gets like little cotton swabs, and he finds out that if he puts the cotton swabs in his ear, he can block out the sound.
This was another thing. How did he get those cotton swabs in his ear?
He leans forward.
How would you lean that far forward?
So his arms are
way out in front of him.
But you can like lean down like that.
You see, your elbow went out when you did that.
Yeah, his elbow. It was only his wrist. So
okay.
You can lean down like that.
All right.
All
right, fine.
I thought about
I'll eliminate that one from my...
Did you see me do that in the theater?
No, I didn't.
Because I was sitting in the theater and I had my arms on the wrist.
And I'm like, did he throw them in the air and then just like land them in his ear?
Because I was sitting in the theater.
Here's the other thing.
And I was like, how did he do that? So I tried it. I'm like, I guess he could do it. Okay.
I don't think you could do it well. And here's the other thing. It's not going to block out all the sound.
No.
You know what I mean? Like even a great like earplug still would let some sound through. So that was another one of those things where I was like, okay, fine, plot convenience, but I'm sure her cue would still work whether he had a little bit of cotton in his ears or not.
Yeah. Suspension to disbelief. What?
I don't know if it was intentional. I would love to ask Jordan Peele if this was intentional. But there's something interesting because you said cotton, and it is kind of a cotton material. Like picking cotton is a very racial thing, like, in the cotton fields, and the thing that, they were forced to do would save his life. Like, I don't know. That just popped into my brain. I may take that out just for the racial implications, but that's, I don't know.
It's something to think about though.
Yeah.
So he's breaking out. We think he kills the brother because he hits him over the head and there's a lot of blood.
He should have been dead. Yeah. Some sort of bocce ball to the brain 3 times or whatever.
Yeah, it was crazy. Then he kills the dad
who is mid-surgery with the blind guy that wants his body.
Exactly, yeah. And the blind guy actually, and I thought this was interesting. The blind guy says, I don't want you because you're black.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter to me. I want you because...
Yeah, he was almost dismissive. He was like, I don't know why they do only black people. I don't even care.
I don't care. I just want you because you have eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Not only your eyes, but you have a vision. You can see things differently because you're an artist, you're a photographer.
Mm-hmm.
And he owned a gallery. And he's like, I understand the thing about a blind guy owning a gallery and stuff, but he said that's why he wanted his body, is because you have a visual eye that I really want. So then he kills the dad. He kills the dad by taking a mounted deer's head and he skewers the dad with the antlers. Then the mom, he goes up
and sets fire accidentally to the area.
Why would you have candles?
Yeah, I don't know.
There was no reason to have candles.
Plot convenience.
Yeah, exactly. Then he goes upstairs. He finds the mom, and before she can grab the teacup to like knock him out again, he smashes it. He breaks it. Yeah. Then she stabs him through the hand with a letter opener.
But he almost stabs himself through the hand. That was really interesting because she comes at him.
Yeah.
And it's like he intentionally
put his hand up.
Put his hand through the letter opener to stop her.
And no pain on his face whatsoever. He's just like, I'm done.
Yeah, he's insane at this point.
Yeah. Then he like turns his hand around with the letter opener in it and then stabs her with it, which was great.
Mm-hmm.
He's grabbed
crazy,
great, yeah.
Crate.
He's crate, yeah. He's
crazy. That was a crazy moment.
He grabs the door to the front and he's about to walk out, and then the brother is still alive. Is trying to choke him out. Every single time he grabs the door, the brother kicks it shut. So one time, whenever the brother is kicking it shut, he stabs the brother, and then he begins to curb stomp him, American History X style, and crush his skull.
We should say off screen,
but you hear it.
Yeah,
you definitely hear it. And he finally gets outside, and this is a fascinating part of the movie. He gets in the car, he's driving away, and he hits the mom, or the grandmother, I should say, who is the maid.
Yeah, in the body of the maid.
And he has to make a decision. My mother was killed by a hit and run. Do I let this person, who he doesn't know is the grandmother, he just thinks that they're crazy, just some lady. He's like, do I save her life and leave her to die, or leave her to die like somebody left my mom to die? He decides to go back for her.
I want to say just briefly here that there's a moment in this movie where this character, the maid, it's about unplugging his iPhone or his cell phone, and she says, she didn't mean to do it or whatever, and that's the grandma lying.
Yeah.
But there's a moment where he says something about leaving, and the person inside the grandma is like struggling to get out and let him know that he should leave. Yeah. And it was the most incredible piece of acting in the entire film for me.
He said, whenever there's too many white people around, I get nervous. And then you can see that person is starting to come from the sunken down place.
Such a perfect performance on her part. And it's key to him making the decision later because he flashes back to knowing that there's someone in there somewhere.
Yeah. And
so he puts her in the car.
He puts her in the car. They're driving away. Grandma wakes up, causes a car accident. This whole time, they're being shot at by Rose, the daughter, with a rifle. Grandma dies in the car wreck. The maid dies, I should say. And then Rose is on her way up with the groundskeeper, who is also the grandfather. And then he takes out his cell phone while he's being killed by the grandfather, flashes the picture, and then...
which apparently turns him back into who he was originally.
Who he was before. And then Rose comes up, and the groundskeeper says, let me do it. He's pretending to be the grandfather. Rose hands him the rifle. He shoots Rose.
Yeah.
And then something happens.
Which you knew was coming, right?
You knew was going to happen.
Yeah.
But then something happens. I don't understand why.
With him committing suicide?
He turns the gun on himself. Can you think of anything why he would do that?
Well, I think the movie is insinuating that he knows he can't live like this. Like that it's not like somebody
he free at that point?
Well, no, because maybe. Because the character we saw earlier, which by the way is Laketh from Atlanta.
Atlanta, yeah.
Yeah. When we saw him earlier, he did eventually come back.
But they rehypnotized.
They rehypnotized him. But I don't know. I think we're just left to believe that he has no choice. Like he just can't exist like that.
Okay.
So I think the movie is saying there's no coming back.
Okay.
Whatever the Flash thing does, it's temporary.
Okay.
But I don't know.
So shoots Rose. She's not dead. Chris begins to choke her to kill her. All of a sudden, cop lights start flashing, and Rose is like, "Thank God." Turns out it's the TSA.
Yeah. Oh, so this is one of my favorite things about the movie that we definitely couldn't talk about until we talked about spoilers. I love this ending. Love it for a couple reasons. it played with my expectations in two major ways. Number one, the entire time, as soon as he's leaving the house, I'm like, oh my goodness, this movie is going to end with him being convicted of murdering all these people.
Yeah, I thought that as well.
Right? Because the movie wants you to think that.
Yeah.
And it's playing with your expectations in that way. And as they're in the end, and she's been shooting the rifle, and the other guy takes the rifle, shoots her, and shoots himself.
Yeah.
And you're like, in my brain, I'm like, just don't touch that rifle. Just don't touch that rifle. Just so your fingerprints are going to be on that. Just don't touch it. Right? Because the movie wants you to think that.
Yep.
And she reaches for the rifle while she's dying, and in order to get it away from her, what's he do?
He grabs it.
He grabs the rifle, and you're like, no, don't do that. Again, because the movie is leading you along this place, then the police lights flash, and you're like, oh my goodness, he's going to get in. But it's his friend TSA agent, and it was such a great switcheroo there at the end, and I really loved that it didn't go where you thought it was going.
Yeah.
And kind of pulled that one last trick on you.
And then he escapes, and that's the end of the movie.
Yeah.
I didn't stay because I had to go and watch Legion. Had to. Yeah.
Yeah.
But did you stay for like a possible after credit scene?
I don't think there wasn't anything after the credits.
Okay.
I was in there all the way through the credits, so no, there wasn't anything.
And that's the movie then.
Yeah.
So
anything you missed that you want to talk about in there? Any moments or... I mean, I love the fact that the party, which...
that might be my favorite part of the whole movie.
Because there's so much about how that party, you can re-see what's going on there once you understand what they're doing with the auction.
Yeah.
So I didn't know that part. I didn't realize it was an auction.
Yeah. What was the creepiest part of the movie for you? I want to see if it's the same part as mine.
The creepiest?
Yeah.
Ooh. All the sunken down stuff was really creepy for me because there's something about being totally out of control that really gets to me. Mm-hmm. So probably the first hypnotizing scene was the creepiest for me.
Mine was right before that, where he sneaks out for a smoke and the groundskeeper just starts running right at him. I got goosebumps, man.
That was weird.
It was so weird. And then he turns around and the maid is just staring out the window, but she's actually looking at her reflection because, that's how light works.
Yeah.
But, man, just that, I got goosebumps, man.
Yeah.
And
it's really... Again, all that stuff with the maid looking at her reflection, all the stuff with the conversation and with the groundskeeper, while he was chopping logs, all that stuff is, when you see it in a different light, is so interesting.
Did all the people who were hypnotized, like the groundskeeper and the maid, I know that their performances, they were supposed to be portraying elderly people, but their performances reminded me of something you'd see in a Shyamalan movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, that's not how normal people talk. Like, I would like... That sounds like something like somebody would say in Signs or something like that. But I loved it.
The only other thing I would mention is I talked a little bit about the metaphor, maybe being too on the nose, those kind of things. There's the beautiful metaphor. Once you understand all the twists in this, I think you can see it even better. But there's this beautiful metaphor about the black culture feeling like it has to adapt to a white culture and become something that culturally they might not feel like they want to be.
Yeah.
I cannot obviously speak to this clearly. I'm a white guy. I'm Caucasian.
Yeah.
And
and we're from Southern Missouri.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I think it would be wrong for me to approach this kind of conversation with anything but humility, to say like I can't understand it really on that level. However, I don't think that negates us from talking about it. Like, we can still think about it and talk about it. In fact, I think it's important to do so.
Do you think that this was maybe Jordan Peele's way of trying to give maybe white culture a glimpse into how like African Americans feel like they're being viewed by white culture?
Yeah, that they have to fit some sort of cookie cutter idea of what they're supposed to be, otherwise they're thugs or
either
criminals.
They're only viewed for their physical prowess in some aspects.
Yes. Yeah.
Maybe athletes, like maybe you only like this African American because they're an NFL player, stuff like that. That's how they're viewed physically.
Yeah. Yeah, just the idea that they're supposed to become white people,
Yeah. Exactly.
It's a really interesting metaphor that, again, I think gets pointed enough that it becomes satire, that it becomes,
I never got that far into it. Like, I didn't think they were beating me over the head with it.
I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't. There's a difference between being pointed about some of that stuff with the Lakeith character. where he is acting like, the white man that has his brain now or whatever.
Yeah.
It's just very pointed. It's just very on the nose sounds negative, but on the nose in even a good way where it's like, the black man trying to act white. It's very much, okay, I see exactly what's going on here, Yeah. So, but again, I don't think it disserves the movie. I really don't. I think it can actually make it more powerful. There's
a part where Chris goes to give his character a fist bump, and he just grabs his fist and just starts shaking it.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's because that's a white dude.
That is a straight up vanilla right there.
An old white dude in that body.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was really impressed overall, I think.
Yeah.
Safe to say.
Yeah. Like I said earlier, I'm really excited about the future of where suspense thrillers and horror go from here.
And where Jordan Peele goes. If he can do something like this, it'll be great to see him direct other genres too.
Yeah, exactly. I think he's proven himself.
Maybe he's a great director. He's also a really funny actor. So, sometimes you just got to, choose which direction you want to go or maybe do a little bit of both. Who knows? But good stuff.
Good stuff.
Thank you for checking out the spoiler cast. We'll again be doing Logan next week. So we're excited to chat about whatever rated R Wolverine looks like on the big screen.
It'll be good.
Put the R in Wolverine. Otherwise, it's just
Wolverine.
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 Wolverine. All right, bye.